Topping today's news, the new Nassau cruise port getting closer to its grand opening. Prime Minister Davis asked about the FTX investigation and Sam Bankman-Fried. Junkanoo is back in a big way, and a suspect arraigned in a recent high-profile murder. Good evening, I'm Jcn. This is your JCN Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. Competition at the newly redeveloped Nassau Cruise Port, Bahamian Retail Market, and the historic downtown Nassau Straw Market should be fair, so says Prime Minister Philip Davis, as government officials and senior executives of the cruise port toured the site on Thursday, led by the port's Chief Executive Officer, Mike Mora. In August of 2019, the government signed a heads-of agreement with Nassau Cruise Port Limited for a $250 million major development of the port, signaling a major step towards the revitalization of downtown Nassau. Mr. Mora telling reporters that even though construction is still ongoing, the multi-million-dollar project is still profitable. This year alone, the port saw 3.2 million passenger arrivals.
But going into next year, we're over 4 million. The year after that, we're closer to 4.5 million. And the passenger numbers from a percentage standpoint grow more significantly than the number of ships. And the reason for that is the ships are getting bigger, right? And so while we will go from 1,206 ships that we handled in 2019, that you're getting into 1,260 ships in 2023 and then exceeding 1,300 ships in 2024. But again, you're going from about 4 million passengers to 4.5 million passengers in 2024.
While the initial budget for the project was estimated at $250 million, that has now been expanded to $300 million. The port executive attributes this increase to inflation and the COVID-19 pandemic. The site currently employs 300 people, with half of them being Bahamians. Mr. Morris says the cruise port is designed to fit 6 large ships comfortably and will be able to withstand Category 5 hurricane conditions.
More importantly, it's about passenger counts. So what we do is we've gone from 20,000 maximum capacity to over or around 33,000 passengers in a given day, based off the assortment of vessels that would be in port. That said, if we had a day where we had 5 ships, we could actually have 4 Oasis vessels in port. So it's given the width of the slips and so forth that we have out there. But it's designed for 3 Oasis or 3 Icon class ships, which is the next generation of vessels. As these ships are coming out of these shipyards and they're larger, it's not like they're larger by 100 feet, they're larger by 10 feet, so and they give these new names and so forth. But we can handle the largest, and we can handle the next generation and the next generation after that.
The new construction will feature a new terminal and event and entertainment center, including an amphitheater and new food and beverage facilities. Minister of Works Alfred Sayers says this project will provide many opportunities for Bahamians and will be a catalyst to increase the Bahamas' long-standing record of having the largest cruise port registry.
It also will provide a stimulus to Bay Street, and also open up myriads of opportunity for the orange economy in the Bahamas, craftspersons from our markets who really reflect the culture and the imagination of the Bahamian people. There is an amphitheater, the performance arts. There's a Junkanoo museum, so it will give the visitors who will be coming in greater numbers an immersive experience in Bahamian culture. The cuisine, also another important aspect of the Bahamian culture, will be featured. So multicultural dimensions, and it really ought to challenge us to improve the product.
Upon completion of the project, the port will be able to take on hundreds of full-time employees. The new cruise port is expected to celebrate its grand opening in May of 2023. While many, particularly in the international sphere, have called for the arrest and jailing of former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried, he has not been arrested, but has been questioned by local authorities, according to Prime Minister Philip Davis. The Prime Minister telling reporters as much on Thursday while at the Nassau cruise port on a special tour. Now, while the Prime Minister did not say which authorities questioned the FTX founder, when asked if authorities interviewed Mr. Bankman-Fried, Prime Minister Davis responded, "I heard that he was," end quote. FDM is being investigated by both local and international authorities since its collapse early last month. The Prime Minister also told reporters he was not concerned that the collapse of FDM would impact the country's real estate market after it was revealed by a local daily that the company had purchased some $300 million worth of property in the country. Now, added to the debacle of FDM is that Joint Provisional Liquidators, in a statement on Wednesday, revealed that there are significant uncertainties surrounding the outcome of bankruptcy proceedings in Delaware. The liquidators are attempting to gain access to FTX's digital books and records, particularly customer information stored on cloud-based servers. The Joint Provisional Liquidators have been in communication with the Securities Commission of the Bahamas and are cooperating fully with the Commission's investigations. After a 2-year hiatus, the much-anticipated holiday Junkanoo parades all across the nation are back and moving full steam ahead. With that being said, the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture says the ministry has expended over $2 million in resources this year to ensure that effective delivery of Junkanoo parades around the country are seen.
We are bold, we are beautiful, we are rhythmic. We are complex, we are exciting, we are jubilant, we are Bahamians. The spirit of Junkanoo will forever be in the hearts of Bahamian people. This is our strong and colorful time-honored and treasured heritage. The sound of the drum, the vibrant colors of the costumes, and the dance of our feet on the street tells the world that Bahamians are a creative people rooted in passion and tradition.
The National Junkanoo Committee has ensured that the Family Island groups are back on stream, and the Junkanoo Corporation of New Providence, the JCNP, has worked faithfully to ensure that groups here in the capital are present for this inaugural Junkanoo parade season on the heels of the COVID-19 pandemic. President of the JCNP, Dion Miller, says this year's Junkanoo donations have trumped previous years.
On behalf of the Junkanoo Corporation of Providence, I just want to thank our partners, both in government, our corporate sponsors, Alive and Collect, Bear, for their continued support through DS. The government has stepped up in a big way this year to ensure that every single member of the JCNP has received full funding. I think, Minister, this would have been the most or the greatest investment or the single largest investment in regards to seed funding that any government of the Bahamas have ever contributed to Junkanoo, and for that we are forever grateful to you, Minister.
The first parade will be held on Eleuthera on Christmas Day, while here in New Providence, the Boxing Day and New Year's Day parades will have 6 groups in the A category, 17 groups in the B category, and 18 fun groups participating. The New Providence parades will broadcast live on both ZNS and Alive. The family of slain 32-year-old Giovanni Lafleur, who passed away in early October, got a step closer to closure for the loss of their loved one after Glenardo Johnson, 26 of Key West Street, was arraigned in Court Number 9 today in front of Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt, charged with causing the intentional death of Lafleur. Johnson was not required to enter a plea as a voluntary bill of indictment was issued for the 19th of March, with Johnson being remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services until then. While in front of Chief Magistrate Justice Joyanne Ferguson Pratt, Johnson said he is in fear of his life, alleging that the man he is being accused of killing is a leader of a New Providence-based gang, as well as alleging that Lafleur's stepfather is a prison guard. Chief Magistrate Justice Ferguson Pratt mentioned that his issue has been noted and a decision will be left to the prison commissioner. You may recall in early October, a bus driver was killed and a 16-year-old boy injured after a shooting incident played out in broad daylight on Robinson Road shortly before 10 a.m. on a 15A bus, which was full of passengers at the time. A source telling Jcn News that the victim was allegedly out on bail for murder and attempted murder before his untimely demise. And finally, in this segment, On a sad note, as National Disability Week kicked off on Thursday, the disabled community, along with the wider public, is mourning the loss of one of its key players. The Ministry of Social Services and Urban Development released a solemn statement on Thursday afternoon expressing condolences on the passing of President of the National Council for Disabilities, Mrs. Monique Roker-Carey. Mrs. Roker-Carey served as a deputy chairperson of the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities and was a long-standing advocate for the disabled. As an employee of the Bahamas Customs Human Resources Department, Mrs. Roker-Carey did not allow her disability to limit her potential or hinder her development and growth, according to the ministry's statement. Social Services Minister Obi Wilscombe described her as a strong woman who relentlessly fought on behalf of people with disabilities and believes that as a wheelchair user herself, accessibility was key for the advancement of those with similar disabilities. Jcn also sending our condolences to the family of the late Monique Roker-Carey. May she rest in peace. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.